This is part 3 of our adolescent cognitive development lecture. So now we're going to talk about adolescence in school. So the transition from elementary school to junior high. Okay. The shift from a smaller school in a single classroom to a larger school with many teachers. It's a big change. Okay. Junior high teachers usually exert more behavioral control and allow less student input than elementary teachers did. And this is at a time when children are starting to desire more autonomy. So when they want more autonomy, they're getting less. This transition is usually accompanied by a decline in grades and participation in activities. We also see a drop in self-esteem and an increase in psychological distress. Girls seem to have a harder time with this transition than boys do. And girls are also more likely to be going through puberty at this point than boys are. Okay, dropping out. High school dropouts are more likely to be unemployed. They make lower salaries throughout their lives. They're more likely to show behavioral problems, delinquency, criminal behavior, substance abuse. But cause and effect are unclear. Does dropping out increase delinquency, or does delinquency cause dropping out? Both? Neither? Okay. There are some SES differences here. Low SES students are more likely to drop out of high school, and these differences seem to be related to income much more than race or ethnicity. So it's not that certain ethnicities are more likely to drop out, it's more related to income and SES. So some predictors. Predictors of dropping out are excessive school absence and reading below grade level. These are the earliest and strongest predictors, and this makes sense, right? If students are missing a lot of school, they're not going to do as well in school, they'll probably be getting bad grades, and they're more likely to drop out. Now, think about the reading below grade level. Reading is involved in everything. Every school subject, even math, involves reading. So if you have a student who can't read well, they are going to suffer in every single subject in junior high and high school, and that will also make them more likely to drop out. Other factors or predictors are low grades, poor problem-solving abilities, low self-esteem, problems with their teachers, dissatisfaction with school, substance abuse, being old for one's grade level, and also being male. Boys are more likely to drop out of school than girls. Marrying and or becoming a parent at a young age also increases the risk. If teenage girls get pregnant, they're more likely to drop out. So how do we help? Well, they found that preschool is important here. Early preschool intervention is important to prevent high school dropouts. If it's all because of that low reading level, then we really need to intervene early and make sure that children just entering school can read at the same level of their peers. We also need to identify and monitor high-risk students. Small class sizes help, individual instruction, counseling. We need to address the social emotional needs of students, not just the academic needs. And we need involvement of adults from the family and the community. It can't just be the school, it has to be the whole community. We need a positive school climate to help children want to stay in school. We need clear and reasonable education goals, student accountability for behavior, and motivational systems that involve penalties and rewards. A great book for this topic is How Children Succeed. It talks about some of the other things we need to give our students other than just academic ability. So here's a quest for you. I found this in the How Children Succeed book. So look up KIPP schools. What are they doing to address the education gap, and are they being successful? Next is choosing a career. We talk about this in adolescence because this is when they're thinking about it. They're having to think about what career they want, and this helps them decide what college they want to go to or what jobs they might want to try to get. So we start making our career decisions as teenagers. So some of the most influential factors about choosing a career: parenting. Parents who recognize teenagers' autonomy and encourage open discussion of interests and possible careers. Their parents need to talk to them about things they might want to do and allow teenagers to kind of make their own decisions. We also need personal experimentation. So teenagers need entry-level jobs, hobbies, internships. They need to try out some different possible careers and see what they like. There's also a cultural factor. Ethnic identity can be an important factor in what career choices are valued or dismissed. So especially girls, in a certain culture, What careers, if any, are considered appropriate for a girl? What careers are considered appropriate for a boy? Okay, and just different cultures might put more influence on, say, like scientific careers, and some may put more emphasis on helping careers. So part of the ethnic identity could steer children toward certain careers over others. There are 3 phases of career development. The first is called inspiration. So this begins usually around 13 or 14. So an extroverted, highly social teen may want to work with people. A student who excels at math or science may look into those careers. So these are just the inspiration, it's the spark. This is a career I might be interested in. These early decisions may change when the time comes to choose a major or the career. It's just the thought of this might be interesting to me. The second stage is called specification. This usually happens at around 18. Once you start to specialize, you limit your career possibilities. So teenagers learn about potential jobs that match their strengths, their experience, their interests. They might have begun getting an education or job training in a career track. So they might have started taking concurrent enrollment at a university, taking some classes, maybe get an internship. Okay, so they're starting to narrow down what it is they want to do. And then the third stage is implementation. So Erickson said that late adolescents need a psychosocial moratorium. This is a time to take a break from career choice and discover themselves and their purpose in the world. This is usually done by going to college and engaging in extracurricular activities. Other opportunities for this are in the public and private sector, such as the Peace Corps, the military, Teach for America, etc. It's like volunteer work. It's a time of finding yourself. New workers not only find a job, they're also learning skills such as getting along with coworkers, working as a team, etc. And this phase may be very unstable, as reality does not often match our expectations or the dream that we had back in the inspiration stage. So implementation is when you actually go into the workforce and you actually start trying stuff out and learning skills. And a lot of times there's a reality shock and people realize that this career isn't what they want, and they go back to the inspiration stage and start over to find a new career. So you might go through this process several times in your life. Gender differences. Career selection is still heavily influenced by gender stereotypes. Most teachers are female. Most engineers are men. But women in medical and law schools are now about equal to men. So we're seeing a lot of equalization. But there's a lot of cultural influences. Again, we've talked about this. How traditional is the culture? How do they view jobs when it comes to women? What jobs a woman is able to do, or what is acceptable for her to do? Your choice of career influences your happiness all the way to middle age. So studies about happiness in middle age rate 2 things the most highly: a vocation or a job that matches talents and interests, and close relationships with significant others. So both of these life goals and the skills used to achieve them are made possible or derailed by the experiences of adolescence. So things that happen to teenagers can influence their happiness when they get to middle age. So adolescent employment. Half of sophomores, 2/3 of juniors, and almost 3/4 of seniors in high school work. Girls and boys are equally likely to be employed, but boys work more hours. 2 to 3 million teenagers, as far as we can tell, are working illegally, which means they're just getting cash payments under the table. There are SES differences. European American teenagers are about twice as likely to be employed than ethnic minority teenagers. This is more common in middle class adolescents. Okay. Lower income adolescents work longer hours. Lower class teens work to add to family income, whereas middle class use income for personal purchases. So a big difference we see here is that middle class adolescents are more likely to be employed, but lower income adolescents work for longer, and their goals for working are different. In lower SES, they're working to help their families to add to income, but in the middle class, they're using it to buy music and clothes and save for a car, so like personal purchases. So some of the pros and cons of working as a teenager. So some pros would be they're developing responsibility, self-reliance, discipline, the value of money and education. They're learning positive work habits and values. They're enhancing their career aspirations. But some cons would be most jobs for teens are retail. They're low pay, they're high turnover, they have little authority. Tasks are usually simple and repetitive that require no special skills, minimal supervision, and little cooperation for other workers. So do these jobs have value or benefit? Are these jobs teaching teenagers much about what they actually need to succeed in the workforce? Also, teens who work after school tend to have lower grades. It does impact their grades. Teens who work more than 11 to 13 hours per week have lower grades, higher rates of drug and alcohol use, more delinquent behavior, lower self-esteem, and higher levels of psychological problems. So, given this list of pros and cons, should we limit how much adolescents are allowed to work? I'm going to throw this discussion up on Blackboard as well. So that's all I have for adolescence and cognitive development. If you have any questions, please post them on the forum on Blackboard.